People in Nigeria have individual social responsibility.
You hear so much about it, but I don't think Nigeria is a country where we actually talk about our individual social responsibility.
Social responsibility, simply in my own words, is a communal responsibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Amazons.
I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. And it will be an honor, a privilege to do for it everything I can. I want to be thoroughly used up before I die. For the harder I work, the longer I live. Those are the words of George Bernard Shaw. And for me, they encapsulate the ideal of our relationship to our society, our community, our individual responsibility to the community. Welcome to Amazons. Today on Amazons, we're talking about individual social responsibility. And before I go on, let me please welcome my co-anchors, Dolapo and Aisha.
Thank you, Bimbo. Thank you.
What do we mean by social responsibilities, individual social responsibilities? It is an ethical theory that states that we should give back to our community. Every entity, be it an individual or an organization, has a responsibility towards their community and the society at large. Do we, as a people in Nigeria, have individual social responsibility?
I would say you hear a lot about the what corporate social, the CSR. You hear so much about it, but I don't think Nigeria is a country where we actually talk about our individual social responsibility, which is basically making sure that, you know, being your brother's keeper, that's what I call it, and making sure that whatever it is that you do, you know, you need to take into consideration of, you know, the other person around you. So I don't think we're really aware of what ISR is at the moment in Nigeria.
Aisha, it looks like at one point in Nigeria, we did know what it was.
Yeah.
We had wole, the people that came to check your house to make sure that everything was right. And also, as a community, we were a tighter people. We loved each other. Everybody's child was, you know, your child was my child was your child, your problems were my problems. That seems to be disappearing in our society.
Certainly so. Social responsibility, simply in my own words, is a communal responsibility. How you affect your community, how you affect your immediate environment, taking responsibility for one another, taking responsibility and looking after each another's interests. But that is missing now. We have become a society that puts self first before another. A society that is after materialism. A society that does not take responsibility for another human being. A society that thinks the problem of another one is not my problem. As long as I'm comfortable in my own zone, forgetting that communal responsibility is personal responsibility. You take care of the community, you are safe. You neglect the community, you are in trouble. Therefore, individual social responsibility is much more a bigger scope than you would have a society responsibility. You start from the community and you
impact
on society.
By doing that, the first unit, of course, is your immediate family. You
right.
have a responsibility to your immediate family. But what we forget, or we seem to be losing track of, is the fact that we also have, you know, responsibilities towards each other. We should be responsible for our community. When we're talking about responsibilities to the community, we're talking about really small things. You are in a community. You pay to put a well. You all come together as a people and say, okay, we don't have water here, but we can come together. All the landlords, and those that have, and even some of the tenants can put money together and build a well for that particular community to use. And what have you done in that sense? You have increased the community. You have blessed the community. You have given the community something intrinsic that it needs. And at the same time, you're creating well-being because you're interacting with each other, talking to each other, you're coming out. It's not a situation of, Lagos today. I'm coming out of my house, entering my car, and I'm zooming off. You don't know your neighbors. And are we losing our traditional values?
For me, I think individual social responsibility is something that extends way beyond the family. It's your duties, your what you need to do for another person, for the fact that you are both living in the same universe. Like you said, you made an example earlier on about getting into your car and driving off. And I think way back then, if you're driving down the road, especially when you see little children walking, going to school, back then you would stop and pick them up, especially if the school is on the way. But now, maybe because of the present situation of the country and the way the economy is going, everybody is rushing. Nobody actually cares. When you get armed robbers come to your neighbor's house, what people do now is shut the window and hide. That's what they do.
My life first.
Unlike before, where, people will gather or they will call the police or actually try and help. So I think it extends way beyond what you actually have to do or give back within a family circle. It's just basically understanding that, the fact that you live in a particular society, you are responsible for that other person. That's what I think it is.
That's exactly what it is. Let's look at the factors that are making it difficult for us to be responsible, socially responsible to each other. Because I know that Nigeria of 10 years ago, I had a breakdown, my tire is flat. I didn't have to change my tire. People would park, men would park and change my tire for me. They'd be like, Madam, don't worry, do you have a jack? Do you have this? Do you have that? I'll sort it out for you. Usually all I'd have to do is stand by the side of the road and wait for someone to fix it. Recently that happened and I had to do it myself. And it sounds funny, but it's a huge deal, especially if you don't really know what you're doing. I was there for over 45 minutes straight, and people were zooming past me right, left, and center.
That's because everybody is suspicious of one another.
Yes, that's what has happened. We have now become so suspicious because of the ploys that, armed robbers use, and because all the time you're wondering, what does this person want from me? And of course, there was that ruse that was going on at one point in time where you'd give someone a ride, and the person would start screaming that you owe them money.
Yeah, exactly, as a means or a ploy to get you either make money off you. And you have to be careful of such scenarios because people don't actually wait to find out whether this is true or not. You get a mob action.
Yes, you do.
And if you do not take time, you lose your life. That brings to mind, you know what happened to those students in River State, in Port Harcourt?
That was horrible.
How can that happen in a community? And the head of the community actually gave a consent to the fact that you can take the laws into your hand. If you have a social responsibility, you have a responsibility, a duty as a community leader, first and foremost to investigate. And if to even protect that life where it is under threat.
Yeah.
But that is because there is a breakdown in our social responsibility to one another.
Yeah. We're talking about individual social responsibility on the Amazon today. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back. You think about your individual responsibilities. Welcome back. You're still watching Amazons, and we're talking about individual social responsibilities today. We've been looking at the factors that have changed us as a people. Before we continue, we'd like to bring in our guest for today, ladies and gentlemen, Barrister Dave Ajetomobi. You are welcome.
Hello, Barrister. Welcome to Amazons. Thank you for coming.
Hello, Barrister. Welcome.
Very welcome. So we're talking about individual social responsibility. And that also comes to play in the workplace because you are a professional. What are those individual social responsibilities that we have in the workplace? And in Nigeria of today, are people still being responsible?
Well, I think the state of the nation has turned us to every man to himself, God for us all. which is the reality on the ground. But traditional African society, we are our neighbor's keeper. We really care. Like we have an adage in this part of Nigeria that it's only 4 eyes that give birth to a child. It's the whole community that takes care of the child. And another adage says that Agbaki wa loja kore omo tuntun. That is, if an elder is in the market and a woman is carrying a child on her back with the child head bent, the elders must respond. Though it's not, they don't know them from Adam. That is the that is to show the traditional African system of social responsibility, because we feel that if I help my neighbor, together we can help the society.
Now let me ask, is it that we are changing, we're letting go of tradition, or that the parents are not responsible anymore in teaching their children the values that they were taught?
Well, we have in law we have a maxim that nemo dat quod non habet. You can't give what you don't have. If you grow up in Ikoyi, you don't care what happened to the neighbors. You don't, and nobody. You don't even know who your neighbor is, so you can't really teach.
Yeah, but you know, I'm looking at the Nigeria of today and the busy lifestyle that we live. I know as a child growing up, once my mom's friends come in, she doesn't have to turn and say, get up, go to your room. We get up immediately and we go to our rooms. You go to your friend's house today, you're sitting down gisting with her, and the children are there. So
well, it's even bad that if they offer you a drink, the child may even be struggling to have a seat. So is that bad?
Because I asked a friend of mine recently, I said, you know what? You were raised a particular way. What was so wrong about the way you were raised? Because that's what made you the person you are today. So why don't you want to imbibe those same traditional values that your mother, your parents gave to you in your children? Because it seems that we're not doing so.
Yeah.
And what are the factors that are making this possible? Is it that we're too busy?
It's not that we are too busy. The influence, you see, I don't know what education is. Education overrides traditional values now. They would say that what you see on television, the education that you have, is eroding and taking away from the traditional values that we were brought up with. But that is not to say that is an excuse. A Yoruba boy or a Yoruba child knows that when an elder comes in or you see an elder, you prostrate, you kneel down. But these days they stretch their hands and say, hello.
Hi.
Hi. And they are not corrected. We are allowing our culture and tradition to just disappear. Another example I'll give you, Bimbo. I grew up from a very humble background. Social responsibility. In the marketplace where my mother sells wares, those she was selling to were the ones that looked for a secondary admission for all of us.
Wow.
The used clothes of their children, they passed on to us. Do you have such things anymore these days?
I hope everybody out there is thinking about this, because you need to ask yourself, what have I done for somebody else in the last 1 year, in the last 6 months, in the last 3 months? It's important. If you are not helping somebody else grow, you are not there's a particular kind of satisfaction and joy that comes from helping somebody else. You are missing out on a lot. We have another guest. And I'm going to pick my guest today from the studio, because this is about each and every one of us. Sir, can you join us on stage? A round of applause for him, please.
Now you've been an audience member.
Now you're a guest. Please join us. You're welcome to this discussion. Please tell us your name.
My name is Chibueze Oji.
Chibueze. I may call you Chibueze.
Yes, please.
So tell me, what do you think your individual social responsibility is?
As a matter of fact, I remember even as a little child, a mother could be going out to the farm or to the market, and she will drop her child with either the neighbor or the husband's brother's wife and all that. And if along the line, probably the child misbehaves, that woman has the right and the authority of the mother to correct. But these days, I think the reason why many people have shied away from individual social responsibility is because of the attitude we get sometimes when we take it upon ourselves to carry out that responsibility. I remember an incident in my church where a particular boy did something wrong. Another woman, disciplined him, and the mother came screaming, "Don't teach me how to train my child. All you needed to do was to tell me, and I know how to discipline my child." And for me, that was the height of discouraging people from, carrying out some individual social responsibility. More so, the barrister made one valid point. I think we are gradually losing it as a society, culturally and otherwise. We used to live in environments where there are no fence. Sometimes children come out together and play. But these days we have estates springing up even in villages, such that once you drive into your compound, the next person doesn't know who lives. You can move into an estate and you wouldn't know who your neighbor is, and you could live there for 1 year. I think that's enough to deter people from carrying out individual social responsibility.
We're also asking, Barrister, about responsibilities of a professional in the workplace. Because our community, your workplace is also a little community away from the home community. So what are those things that are our individual responsibilities in our professional communities?
Well, in my own field, for instance, we do offer pro bono services. Pro bono is when you have an indigent person that has suffered some wrong, you have to maybe help him out gratuitously. That's a sort of community service, because ordinarily, such a person will not be able to afford the services of a lawyer. Then you take it up, you feel that the man has been cheated, and in order to assuage for the wrong done to him, you take it up personally, you spend your money, you appear in court, or you write letters at your own expense. When something comes out, give him, he will be expecting maybe we share. No. That is at least one thing I normally tell them, that, well, I've done this for you, you owe it to another person. So it goes on like that. I will tell them story of people that have done that to me, that I'm paying the debt by giving you this. You are owing somebody.
Someone else. That's it. But also looking at the workplace, because we are all, working class women. Also looking at the workplace, isn't rivalry a huge problem? Something that is affecting us doing that social responsibility, because you're out there looking at the next person and thinking, you want my job, or I want your job, and I'm trying to replace you. So you're not out there to support the other person.
When you talk about workplace, you just mentioned pro bono now. I know that every company has a that's when you're moving to the corporate social responsibility now. Pro bono comes under the corporate social responsibility.
Not necessarily, it can be
so
individual.
It can be your
individual
decision to actually help.
Yes.
Because I know that in a legal firm, you have a particular percentage of pro bono services that you have to offer in a year.
Yes.
But going back to what Bimbo said about the rivalry thing, it's really sad in this day and age, because sometimes even helping each other. You said something about a pregnant woman then, and I know a case of a pregnant woman, who was pregnant and was struggling to complete the assignment, and they were clocking in and clocking out, and she had a friend who could have helped her. But because of the fact that, she knew that if the pregnant woman doesn't complete the work and she goes on leave early, she will get extra money. So instead of actually helping the pregnant woman, she began to sabotage the pregnant woman.
Goodness gracious. What are the things that we can do? This is for all of us. What are the things that we can do to promote people understanding that it is imperative for us to do something for the other person? Is it something that has to be started at home? Is it something that has to be started when you get to secondary school or primary school? Is it something that should be done when you're in the university? When do we do this, and how do we help each other to become more responsible to each other in the community?
Given by some people, or given to some people, is congenital. It is not acquired.
Very true.
Yeah.
So if congenitally you are born to give, you do it without a second thought.
Yes.
You even, once you cannot give, it bothers you. That
But,
you
but
are
can't we
helpless.
train?
I'm coming to that. It bothers you that you cannot give until you satisfy that need. It becomes a need for you to do
give.
something
Yes.
to affect the society. If you cannot do it, you do not have rest.
Yes.
To some people, you have to push
Yeah.
and let them see, open their eyes to
The facts.
the fact that you are in a state of giving, so you should give. For instance, you have a driver. The driver has children, brilliant children. He comes to you and says he cannot pay fees. I would not give the driver the money to pay the fees because you are suspicious. The child may not even need the fees. Where is the school of the child?
Go there, go find out.
Where is the fee? Bring the fee to me. I will take care of it. So some people are also suspicious of those who are in need because the society, because of the pressure of not having enough, they devise all sorts of means to blackmail and to extort from you.
Yes.
So we also have to be very careful what we give and make sure that what you give is indeed what is needed.
What is
Now, looking at our streets in Lagos, children everywhere, isn't being particular about that and doing whatever we can also part of our social responsibilities? Because we are one community.
Yes, actually that is the way God created us. We're supposed to be interdependent. But you know the situation we have in the country now, if you try to maybe assist a child, you may be taken to be a kidnapper or a child abuser. So you have to balance it up. It's not just that maybe I have a good heart, you go ahead point blank, you just try to investigate, let the parents know that you are trying to help. And sometimes you have to help within a distance. But it's not really an excuse to deter us from
Because I don't think helping means that we have to give them money or we have to go to their homes to go and look for their water. But we can, as a people, put pressure on the government to make sure that they're not on the streets.
Then, well, that would be, yes, we can advocate. It's not just that. There are other issues that could be, at least what you are doing here now is a form of social responsibility, sensitizing the people in authorities as to the peculiarities of our problems and how to solve them. It's a form of social responsibility. Whether they hear or not, that's a different kettle of fish. But you have performed your own duty and it will be reckoned in future that, well, this set of people did theirs, but the people that ought to have heard and take action in respect of it failed to play their part. That is just what is required. And even all this advocacy, human rights and the rest is part of social responsibility. You are not doing it because you want people to commend you or you want people to see you. This anti-corruption crusade is a form of social responsibility. So it's not, we shouldn't wait until maybe we have 1 million, then you give somebody that your 1,000 may save a life.
We're going to take a short break on that note, but don't go anywhere. We're talking about individual social responsibilities on the Amazons. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and you're watching Amazons, and we're talking about individual social responsibilities. There's something that's happening now that I find amusing. You see a lot of celebrities, and they want you to know that they are giving back. But my question is, are they really giving back? When you go once a year to a motherless home and you pack press, this is public relations. You're doing your quota to make sure that you remain a star. You're not actually doing it because you care about the people. Do we count that as them being socially correct in giving back?
Giving back is supposed to be discreet. Sometimes some givers are even anonymous. Those are the real givers, not those ones who do it for publicity's sake, not those ones who do it because they want to remain in the limelight. It is the one that gives without even the person that is given to knowing who gave that are actually doing being socially responsible. But then, I mean, the world that we live in is, what do you call it? I don't want to use the word vain.
Well, it has become a bit vain.
I don't want to use the word vain. For those who do such a thing, they are not really given. It's to their own advantage.
Well, Aisha, I beg to differ. I understand where you're coming from when you say that, when you give, you don't need to bring a lot of attention to you. But in a culture where, like you said something that that was very important. You said something about the fact that in order for people who give, that it's a natural thing. Now, some people want to give and they don't know where to go. There's some people like that, so sometimes, in as much as long as, I don't know about all the celebrity thing and getting cameras to show yourself and everything, but I think if you give and you encourage people and tell people, I've been able to get people to give because I've told them that this is what I do. Why don't you do it? And the little group that we started is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because we're like, oh, I can really do that. Oh, I thought I needed to bring money. I said, no, you don't need to bring money. Bring your children's used clothes. Bring your children's used books, shoes. Let's do something.
No,
and it's spreading.
We're talking about the publicity side.
No, I know.
But looking at that, Aisha, I agree with you. And then on the other hand, the people that they give to, even if it's once a year, do benefit from the giving. Even if the giving is not from their heart or with all of their heart and it's just a gimmick for PR, the people that are getting it are still benefiting.
They can still get without the paparazzi and the press.
I agree with you. But isn't it better to get something than to get nothing at all? I mean, I agree that the intentions are totally wrong and it shouldn't be a thing for publicity. But at the end of the day, the beauty of it is that some people still get help.
True.
Tell me about where you live, your area. What are the things that you people do together as a community?
Okay, I belong to an organization, Junior Chamber International, JCI. And what we do, because it's also important for people to understand that, like the barrister said, it's also possible that you might not be able to do something alone. Find a small group, like Dolapo said, to find a small group. Join that small group. If you're not contributing in cash, you're contributing in kind or in ideas. Okay? In my organization, every May 1st, we'll go to Lagos University Teaching Hospital and donate equipment to the children department. Every year we do that. Now, also about the publicity, it's also important for us to know, much as Aisha has talked about the reason why you shouldn't publicize. It's also important sometimes to publicize. Like in JCI, each chapter tries to outdo itself. Okay, so what you do is when you're doing your own charity organization, because we are all about charity. When you're doing your own charity organization, your charity programs, you are encouraged to advertise it. One, you're going to get an award, and it's also going to challenge other LUMs. Okay, last year my LUM won an award for that, and this year we're also doing another project for Maryland Junior Secondary School. We're going to equip. Sorry, yes, as a body, JCI. We're going to equip their library for them. We've already done this year's own donation for University Teaching Hospital, and we're also planning another round because they also requested. Funny enough, it's also important for us to emphasize here that much as we should encourage individuals to take up social responsibilities, but it's amazing sometimes when you find out the minutest things that government cannot afford to provide for the citizenry. You can imagine this equipment we are talking about cost only 12,500 naira, and in a ward that has over 20 children, they have only 2 to go around the 20. Last year we donated 12. This year we donated 15, and they still need more because sometimes they actually use it to feed people that cannot. So sometimes adults also come to borrow it. So it's also important while we are encouraging individuals to see what they can do to be socially responsible. Government should also at least the little things that will make impact. We are not talking about massive infrastructures, just little things that affect the life of the individual. It's also important for us to emphasize that.
Okay. From what you just said now, social responsibility does not mean your immediate environment. It means it can be extended. A group of women in Lagos that I know, from Edo State, where I'm from, my local government, they come together every year. They go to the maternity ward back in the community at home. They have donated beds, beddings, bed sheets, renovated the delivery room where the you know, the bed that we used to have in secondary school, the 6 by whatever they call it, was actually where, you know, where they elevated to be the delivery. Is it delivery couch?
Delivery.
You know, they had to buy that, buy oxygen, buy everything. So in other words, you can take social responsibility beyond your immediate environment.
Yeah, beyond the little community, but to the society at large, because that is key. Looking at the things that we do or do not do to encourage each other. So sometimes it doesn't have to be money.
Sure.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be, you know, equipment or anything. I'm thinking you're walking down this. My mom used to do this all the time. My mom used to take us to school in the mornings. And what my mom would do was pack every child. We would sit on top of each other like sardines. She would pack as many children as she could, drop all of them in their different schools as she was going. You can't pay for that.
No, you cannot.
But what it did was make a difference in those children's lives, because they had, for whatever reasons, had to walk to school every morning. And here's someone that's making sure that you get there well rested, because, you know, being well rested, you're learning more. Not that you've done half of the day before you get to the school. So looking at government, they're individuals who are, you know, leading us, aren't they? They also have social responsibilities, apart from, you know, the political one, being in charge of this country. We know that they have responsibilities, but don't they also have, you know, shouldn't they encourage as much as they can individual responsibilities within the government and also within the people?
But if you understand the way we play our politics here, they do that in order to enhance their political fortune. Nothing go for free in our political. If a politician is doing something, it's against next election. Not that his heart is so good, he so love the people so much that he want to bless them. He's doing it so next time we'll tell you that you remember what I did. If you see a borehole, especially now we have a constituency project at both national and state. They will do it. They will see. They will nominate contractors, though it's to be handled by appropriate ministry. They will nominate contractor, instruct the contractor that this quote so much, this is your own, this is mine. You can't really call that, that's a profit making social responsibility. So that's the issue. The politician, I don't really see, apart from the likes of Bashorun, MKO, Abiola, who was like that even before getting into politics. He has always been a philanthropist. But these days, all these ones, they do it. By the time they put maybe a borehole, the amount they will use, they may dig a borehole of 2 million, they use 5 million to publicize it. So, and their names on it will be written boldly on it, though a month later the thing will be out of order.
For me, I think motive is immaterial. Motive for me is immaterial. So long as you give and it impacts life, I think that matters for me most. Although the aspect of inflating the amount used, some people will say, some politicians, what they do is do more projects. The more projects you do, the more money you get back for yourself. That is the aspect I don't like. But if you are going to do your constituency project and it's going to impact the life of, go ahead, put it on AIT, put it on CNN, put it on anywhere. But my problem is that the money you're using to also put it on that publicity can also be used to affect
my problem with that is that it doesn't last.
Bimbo, the fund that is used for this, is it constituency projects?
Yes.
It's our funds.
Sure.
It's not theirs. It's what you give from your own pocket. That is what social responsibility is. It is not what is funded by me or you.
Not what you give me what I'm entitled to.
True.
But you know what makes it even worse?
But funny enough, when they do those projects, they will still write on it, executed by the honorable, blah, 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 from blah, blah, blah.
You know my problem with that is, even if you're using my money and you're deceiving me that you're doing something for me and I should be grateful, fine, can it last?
Well,
if you build a hospital in this, can the building stay intact? Not one rainfall and the roof is gone.
Hospitals. Because
can it last?
no, most of the boreholes, during the commissioning, they will recruit somebody to fetch water into it.
Can you prove that?
I won't like to mention names. I won't like to mention names. The commission, by the time you discover it, so by the time they commission it, the following day, the community will go agog that this thing that the commission and everybody was saying.
I would rather you give back. You come and build schools in my hometown. Selfishly. Because you want to show off. I don't have a problem with that.
They hardly build schools. That's the problem.
No,
I'm just making an illustration that I would rather they do this, and we should honestly, we need to try. You understand, as Nigerians, to stop knocking people who actually try and do something, because I think it's to do with the mentality that we have.
I appreciate the doing.
I'd like us to look at philanthropy. Philanthropy, social responsibility. What philanthropy is for, those who are really wealthy, like MK or Abiola. You impact on lives, have foundation,
foundation.
Build foundation.
Richard Branson.
I don't see any of that with the wealthy Nigerians. I cannot point at one philanthropy gesture by one person.
What if? Let's assume that maybe it is going on, because I can't imagine that the whole of the elite Nigeria is not doing anything. Maybe some people are doing and I just don't advertise it.
If they do, Bimbo, believe you me, we would know.
No, I know I know a number of people who actually do a lot for people. They give back in such immeasurable ways that you can't even. But you know what? That's not what they are about. You understand? It's something that they themselves are giving back. Aside from the fact that these are people who actually have conglomerates and companies, and their companies still carry out their CSR, corporate
employment.
Yes, they do. It's not everyone who makes noise about what they give back. And I think that goes back to what you said about when you're a giver, you are a giver.
When you give, Dolapo, when you are a philanthropist, you don't report that you give. MKO was not reporting. He was just giving, and people knew he was giving.
Yes.
Because
people would say, if you need, go to him, it will help you.
Yeah, but there are people who actually go to these people and they help them. There are people sending people's children to school up to the level of university outside the country. But maybe because you're not around there, or the person is not making it public. Okay. I don't think. You can't say, it's not possible that we don't have philanthropy. I disagree with that.
But that brings me to another question, and this is for all of us. Does it mean that being rich, if you have money in the bank account, if you're richer than the others, you owe more than anybody else? And we'll talk about that when we come back after the break. Welcome back. You're watching Amazons, and we're talking about individual social responsibility. So, are we saying that, the richer you are, the more you should give?
Well, it's a matter of individual attitude. You don't really need to. We all know about the story of the widow's mite. That woman wasn't the richest, but she gave the best. So it doesn't really depend on how much you give, but the sincerity and genuineness of heart with which you give. Yeah.
But I think also the reason why Jesus Christ considered her giving the best was because of how much she had, as in the bank from where she got it from, what was supposed to be left, which makes me agree with the question that I think to whom more is given, more is expected.
Much more.
So if I have 100,000 and I give out 10,000, I don't think I have given satisfactorily.
Of course.
That is the truth.
Okay. We also have people commenting on our Facebook page. I'd like to read out some of those. We have Team Shonom Yako. He says the individual social responsibility includes the engagement of each person towards the community where he lives, as well as in the active participation in solving some of the local problems. Under the community, we understand as the village, the social responsibility also could be expressed in making significant donations for the society causes, social, cultural, or ecological. There are many ways of donating, either by your time, energy, or resources. In the words of JFK, ask not what your community can do for you, but what you can do for your community. Then we have Ekosi Christopher Jr. It is work or something that a person is expected to do in a particular society. The obligation of a citizen towards its community to help ensure a safe and moral environment. And our individual social responsibilities are contributing to the development of our community. Also the orphanages and obeying the rules of the community. Thank you guys for sending your responses. So, we're still talking about this. So who much is given, much is expected.
Much more.
But don't we think that to whom much is given in this country has much more problems?
I don't think.
In a country like Nigeria. Don't we think so? So tell me about some of the things that you guys do in your neighborhood. Apart from, I know you belong to a club and you're doing much more, but in your community, where you stay, your neighborhood, your street, or the area, is there anything, is there a time or place where everybody comes together to sit down maybe once a week or once a month or once in every 3 months to say, okay, the roads are bad, government hasn't done anything, let's do it ourselves?
The most outstanding thing we do in my community where I stay is in the area of security. You know, of course, it's rampant now in Lagos. Almost every street has its own gates, you know, in and out. And then we contribute every month. Each flat, you contribute every month for security levy. We employ security guards. So what it means is that we are not only leaving our security in the hands of police and all of that. We also have our own neighborhood watch where we employ our own security guards. And then once it's 12 midnight, they are out to work. They are there on the road checking any car that passes by that time of the night, interrogate them and make sure that the person actually is a bona fide resident of the community.
Barrister, what of in your area?
Yeah, we do have security like that. In addition, when we have issues like there was a time government dug a canal. We used to have a good road there, but during the last something, government felt that they should enlarge the canal. So after finishing the job, they refused to pack the sandbag. We had to gather money and fill the road so it can be usable. Some contributed, some didn't, but they felt that it's only the people that have cars that should bear the brunt. We did it. It's not only the people that uses that place, they are not strictly resident of the area, but those are the things. Then when people have problem in your area and they know that you're a lawyer, they'll just go to that house.
We also have responsibility to our environment, to the ecosystem, to everything. I mean, the sun is hotter than it's ever been. It's getting cold in areas where it shouldn't be cold. So I guess we're also lacking in that area because we're not giving back to the land. That's one responsibility that we didn't talk about today. But please, your last words. Thank you so much for being our guest today. We loved having you. It was great. We enjoyed your contributions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What I would say is for every one of us, we all have it. We all have a duty, you know, to be socially responsible for one another. And I would like to use this opportunity to advocate that, you know what, go out there, try and be a fairy godmother or a fairy godfather. It can be your driver's daughter, your driver's son, your next neighbor, or the streets across, or the malam you actually buy something from. You know what, we keep complaining about this country. And we've all agreed that, you know what, good education can make a change. Adopt a child today. Pay for someone's school fees.
Aisha.
My last word would be that be socially responsible. Make it a habit. Find out what your community needs. Let social responsibility be part of your impact on your community. And I tell you, you cannot describe the feeling that you get after knowing that you have impacted positively on somebody's life.
A community that works together is a safe community. You want safety above all, because that guarantees life. You have children. Raise them to be responsible. Teach them about helping others and how important it is and how we can move this country forward when we start doing that. Don't forget, it's a duty. It's something that you owe. Be you a Christian or a Muslim, it's important that we help and give back to the society. We're doing that. We won't stop. And it's not about being rich. It's not about being poor. Sometimes you give of yourself. It's not always cash. Just make sure you're there for the other person. See you soon. Take care.